I'm going to call to order the St. John Plan Commission for Wednesday, November 1st. If we all can stand, if able, for the pledge. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Mr. Gill, if I can get roll call, please.
All right. Bob Burleson.
Here.
John Kennedy.
Here.
Yolanda Cardona is absent. Bob Valoy.
Here.
Joe Gomestagel.
Here.
Jenna Lordson. John Gill is here. Town Engineer John Dykstra.
Here.
Town Council Liaison Brian Blazek.
Present.
Town Attorney Adam Decker.
Here.
Town Manager Joe Wizawati is absent.
All right, we have a quorum. We can have the meeting. Next on the agenda, we have minutes. If everyone has reviewed the minutes and has no issue, if I can get a motion for October 4th.
Motion to approve October 4th, 2023 regular meeting minutes.
I have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Bob Beloit. Motion by Bob Burleson. Comments, questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Next on the agenda, we have the minutes for October 18th Plan Commission Study Session. Is there any questions or concerns? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve October 18th, 2023 study session minutes.
I have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Me.
By
Joe.
Joe Gomestagel, there's a second. Questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Next on the agenda, we have two public hearings. First on the agenda, we have item A, the Franciscan Alliance. This is a request for a rezone from open space to highway commercial of a portion of Franciscan Alliance site in St. John, approximately 710 feet east of U.S. Highway 41 and approximately 975 feet south of 101st Place. Representing Franciscan is Mr. Weiser. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Name and record, name for the...
Name, rank, and serial number.
Please, sir. Yes.
Good evening. My name is Jim Weiser. I'm an attorney with offices at 429 West Lincoln Highway in Cherville, and I represent the Franciscan Alliance. And I know, excuse me, they were before you in a study session, and I'll talk briefly in a minute about one of the issues that came up there. But I want to give the Plan Commission and the members of the public a brief overview of what the project is about, or what this, I should say, what this petition is about. The Franciscan Alliance has a plan to build a medical office building on Wicker Avenue, south of Alsip. It's where the old Decor Tile was, that kind of property around there. In order to make it work for the entire project, I'm sorry.
Please. Thank you, sir. All right.
In order to make that work, there's approximately 12 acres. The property is zoned, for the most part, C2, commercial. However, there's a portion of it located on the east side. I think it's about 12 acres, 11 point some or 12 acres, that's zoned open space. So in order to make the entire plan work and the project work, that portion has to be, or we're requesting that portion be rezoned to C2. If you look at the surrounding properties, they're C2 to the north, they're C2 to the west. So the zoning is consistent with most of the zoning around there, or the zoning request is consistent with most of the zoning around there. It's just that this portion of open space needs to be rezoned so that the property can be properly assembled and can meet the plan. So that's essentially the nature of the request. I know, and I think, Mr. Kennedy, I think the representatives who are here, by the way, I do have a representative this evening, Maggie Tortolano, who's with the Franciscan Alliance and is here, and I think we might have, I'm not sure, but I think we might have someone on the, is there anyone on the phone with us, or I mean on the Zoom or Teams meeting?
There is a,
There's somebody, huh?
that's John Gill, I think.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, they may be, that would be our architect and our engineer,
Okay.
if they do
Yeah,
come
we
on.
sent the link out shortly before the meeting.
Okay. And they may appear if necessary. So at this point in time, that's really the essence of our request. We certainly think, and I probably should add this, we certainly think that the request is appropriate. It meets the statutory requirement, the 5 statutory requirements that are set forth that the Plan Commission should pay reasonable regard to. It's consistent with your plan. We believe it's orderly, responsible growth. It doesn't have a negative impact on the properties around it. In fact, it will be a great improvement and an enhancement. So for that reason, we believe that it is appropriate for it to be recommended, a favorable recommendation sent to the town council. And having said that, again, we'll be happy to respond to any questions from the public or any questions from the Plan Commission.
Before I open up the public hearing, is there any questions for Mr. Weiser? Jim, I think you brought up that a request by myself was made at the study session. As we all know, a TIF district the function is to generate revenue for the community to help with infrastructure costs within that community to service the area. From my understanding, during the study session, I did ask the architect the tax certification or how these entities will be taxed, and they said they would be nonprofit, which would have no, I shouldn't say negative impact, but would have no positive impact to our TIF district. So discussion was discussed with the representative at the time if for a financial impact statement on what this facility would have in our TIF district. So I don't know if that was relayed back to Franciscan Alliance, and if they have any comment regarding that, if there's any movement regarding that request. Because I got to give a recommendation to the leadership of this community, and in doing so, I think it would be good for me to know the impact a non-taxable entity potentially will have in our TIF district, and the 20-year impact or the future impact it will have when I'm no longer sitting here on the town. So I don't know.
We'll still be here.
Well, I'm hoping to retire someday soon. But I just didn't know if there was any questions, comments, concern, if they have decided to do anything, not to do anything, just so I think the other representatives up here will have an understanding on what our recommendation to the town council will be.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And there has been movement. Excuse me. We discovered, and Adam was extremely helpful in this regard to me. I made some inquiries of Adam, discovered that Sender and Dalton do the financial analysis here, do your financial work here. It's very common in projects I do when TIF districts are involved, that we try to work with that financial consultant it just works out better from the town. So we've reached out to and consulted and contacted and contracted with Sender and Company. Maggie was in fact the individual responsible for that, and but that took some time obviously to get that all put together. So we will have a tax impact plan, for lack of a better term. We will have that available. We just don't know how quickly we'll have that available. Since it's Sender and they're so familiar with the community and with the TIF structures and the financing structures, I assume it'll be sooner rather than later. We just don't have it this evening.
Understand. No, I appreciate the consideration that
Sure.
Franciscan Alliance is doing.
Sure.
Okay, appreciate that. If there's no other questions, and Jim, you have no other comments, or Ms. Weiser?
None right now, no. Thank you.
I will then open it up to the public for the public hearing.
Okay.
So that, those that have not been to a public hearing before, what will happen is I will open up the public hearing. I will need you to come up to the microphone, state your name and address for the record, so we could be put into the minutes. After public comment is closed, there is no more public comment. The petitioner will come back up, hopefully answer any questions that you have that we couldn't answer, and address those to the board. And then at that time, the board will make some sort of determination. Unfortunately, once the public hearing is closed, there is a public comment at the end of the meeting. If you missed to say something during the public hearing, you could always come up afterwards or at the end of the meeting to make any additional comments. All right, with that, the public hearing for Francis Alliance, item 2023-14 is now open. The public hearing is now open. Anybody that would like to make public comment, please come to the podium. Mr. Slager, you know the routine.
Good evening, Jack Slager with Schilling Development. We also represent the owners of Wicker 10400, which is the property directly across US 41 from this parcel. We are in support of the rezoning from open space to C2. We feel that the development of this parcel, the redevelopment of this parcel will cure a blighted site on the south end of town. It will be a positive, high-quality commercial development that will spur additional commercial development, high quality around it, regardless of the profit, nonprofit status. We would encourage the rezoning of the parcel, so we would support a favorable recommendation for this petition.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Sir, name and address for the record, please.
Doug Blocker, 10591 Juniper Lane, St. John. I guess my question is this 12 acres is a small piece of the larger piece of pie. I guess how many acres totally are we talking about for this development? And he mentioned a medical facility. Are we talking doctor's offices? Are we talking a small hospital? I guess that's my question.
What I can answer to that, from my understanding from the study session I was at, one of the facilities will be a 4-story potential office building, and then a smaller lab building with potentially an emergency sort of facility. And hopefully, if I got that wrong, I will be corrected when the petitioner comes up in some of that area.
My name is Lori Kirk, 10542 Bailey Street in St. John. The question that I had, along with my neighbors, some of them who could not attend today, is we were here several years ago when the wetland was turned into buildable property. We did a lot of work on that. Obviously, we're small fish in a big pond here, so our question is, we know Decor Tile, we know the houses that were behind there that have now been gone for many years, and that has been purchased a long time ago. It is pretty bad looking right now. I will agree with the person that was representing the Schillings. Our question was, we'd seen drawings, we had been in contact with the state, we've seen a lot of the plans and stuff prior to what's going on now. The building that was going to be going on when Mr. Munich had owned that property, he was the one that owned the wetland part that was closest to our subdivision, okay? I live on the dead end there. So we know Decor Tile, all that, we see where the road's going in, that's fine. The building we're assuming is going to be in the back. They were originally going to build a bridge over the creek. The first plan was denied because it wasn't proper, and the architects and the engineers did not approve that. They submitted another plan, and that was approved, and then everything just kind of died down. I know Mr. Munich died, Franciscan bought the property, so it's probably a totally different scenario now, but we're trying to find out how close to our subdivision will these buildings be. And I remember when Mr. Eberly was the town planner, he had said that, you know, there was no way that they were going to be that close to our subdivision. If it ever did get that close to our subdivision, they would probably be building some kind of a wall for noise or whatever.
So is your
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
If you look at the screen, your road would be at the bottom of this greenery on the plan where this is where Bailey kind of dead ends somewhere in this area down here.
So right now, this is conceptual. So right now, what's being proposed is a rezone of the property to the far east,
It would be north of the end of Bailey, correct?
North of your subdivision.
north of your,
Yep.
yeah.
So where Decor Tile is and all that, that's all solid land. There's a big hill there. I could see them building a road, putting stuff in there. But then south of that is like the marsh area and stuff, okay? So that's what I'm saying. Hopefully, we're hoping that the town doesn't ever approve to have that marsh area filled in. As much as we like commercial buildings and we
if you-
like
if
to
you can
have
turn-
things
I'm
nice-
sorry.
I was talking to him because he was from Schilling saying that they like to have the new business.
I just need to make sure you are heard in the microphone.
okay.
I know.
Sorry.
And yes, I
So,
appreciate
I
it.
mean, we agree with that kind of stuff. We don't want that Decor Tile and where the smoke shop was, that's been an eyesore now for years since it's been bought, and then it was just let, at a standstill till things could progress. We were just trying to see how far that was gonna come to where there's solid ground as opposed to the marsh part that could not be built on until it was, it would have to be changed, that kind of ground you can't build on it at this point. So that's what we're saying, when he's saying commercial stuff across the street and all that, and that we understand. We're just a little subdivision there, and we're on the very south end of town, and sometimes we feel like we're the wicked stepchildren. But I can tell you, if you drive around through our subdivision, which Mr. Eberly was very impressed, I mean, we have a couple clunker houses in there, but we're not the big mansions like people are building in St. John now. However, we should matter, and we just don't want to have something that's too encroaching on our subdivision without some kind of a buffer or some kind of space in between, with parking lots and things like that. So that was kind of,
John, isn't that wetland?
it is wetland, it was wetland.
It's also floodplain, so if you turn the
Floodplain, so it
floodplain
can't be
layer
built.
on.
Yeah, there's a
Well,
floodplain.
and that's what
there.
we had,
there.
yes. Well, unfortunately, it was wetland. When Mr. Munich bought it, it was bought very, very
It's
cheaply.
still wetland.
Right, it's still
Right.
wetland, but
I just want to make sure this isn't question and comment period. This is public comment. Let them make their public comment, and then after that, we could discuss. So
Well,
I don't,
Brian- yeah,
if I-
he's very familiar with it too, because he was here before.
Gotcha.
And that was the thing, when all that's happened before, we didn't think anybody would come south of the Decor Tile Plaza, because that was wetland. However, there were proposals made to change the wetland into something else, and, all of the animals and all of the things that were there since this all transpired, you've dried up the water, it's been rerouted somewhere, so we have lost a lot of the wildlife there. However, it is still marshy and it's not buildable at this time, and I'm just trying to put our 2 cents in that we are hoping that the town, even though we're doing something positive here, that we don't, take advantage of our small little subdivision and eventually decide, oh, well, we don't like these houses, we're gonna start building further down the road, because we're at the end of the line there. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming out. Any other future public comment? Did we receive anything electronically? John? Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. I did not see you get up.
You have to excuse me, this is my first time doing this.
It's all good. Just a
Lori
name
Field-
and address.
Lori Fields, 10532 East Schneider Court, it's corner of 105th Place and Schneider Court. This is my first home, believe it or not. I've been there 3 years this August. I was thrilled to get this property. As my neighbor said, little piece of paradise in the middle of St. John. Getting this notice or this certified letter a lot of legal schmiegel stuff that I don't understand. I think basically I'm asking, how will this affect me and my home? Are my taxes going to go sky high? Is the property going to change? You're talking about improvements. What kind of guarantees do we have, should we go with this petition, that there will be improvements and not more things that are going to squeeze us out? Like I said, I'm not very good at public speaking, even though I
You're
worked
doing a
for the
great
Village
job.
of Lansing for 23 years.
You're doing quite
I don't
fine.
like this. Yeah, like I said, I'm concerned with, nothing against Franciscan Alliance, but their reputation right now is buying up everything and developing everything. And I don't know how that's going to affect us smaller areas, little people, whatever you want to call it. My corner that I've purchased, it's almost half again as much worth in value because I've done a lot of improvements to it. I worked very hard on it. Even some of your girls in the building department here have said, I've come over and I've asked for different things for my property. As far as ditches, do we maintain a ditch? Does the Public Works maintain the ditch? Just trying to work with it in the event actually hoping to work for the town of St. John. But I think basically that's just my question too. If you could simplify that for me, just exactly how that's going to turn around in effect should this go through.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any other future public comments, questions? John, did we receive anything electronically?
No, we did not.
All right. Please, sir.
Yeah, I'm Harold Nordyke, 10520 East Schneider Court. I'm right at that top where you guys ran a sewer line already through. And I see that's already troubled. We had to call twice because it backed up. I want to know, on that 12 acres or whatever, how's that going to benefit us? What you said, he didn't see how it was going to benefit us.
Okay,
So,
thank you, sir.
yep.
All right, I will ask 3 times before I close public comment. Once public comment is closed, it is closed. So public comment going once, twice, close. Public comment is now closed. We'll bring back up the petitioner. And just, if I could try to express to the group, so right now, we are just looking at rezone. So most of this drawing you see on the screen is already commercial C2. The property to the east of it, there is a section that is open space, which is not C2, which would not be eligible to put those facilities or parking on. So the petitioner today is just asking for zoning. Now, there's been a lot of questions about the building and access and what's going in. That is not being discussed right now because we don't even know what zoning they have and if they'll be eligible to do that stuff. If, hypothetically, it goes through, then they would have to follow the St. John subdivision control ordinances for C2 development. There are strict standards when it's abutment to a residential neighborhood. So they would have to follow those standards with some sort of buffering or screening. And so those, but that is not what's unfortunately on the agenda tonight. Right now, what's only on the agenda is to take it from open space to potentially to C2. So unfortunately, we do not have answers. We do not know all the details. We have not gotten into that detail as of yet. But that will be coming depending on how this, and then this is only a recommendation. This board will only be making a recommendation to the town council, who ultimately will have the final decision on making this zoning change from open space to C2. And if I missed anything, please stop, make sure I add anything on. And then regarding all the stormwater issue, they would have to go through whatever state permitting and whatever permitting we require, and making sure there's no additional flow of water off their property onto anyone else's property. So there are standards that however this proceeds forward, that they will have to follow those standards that are set by the town. Hopefully I answered all those questions. If not, hopefully Jim will jump in there as well, or anyone else from the board. But right now, you can see on the screen right now, you see what is purple is already C2 versus the pink or the light pink, which is considered open space. So therefore, they are asking for that lighter shade to become C2, which will then, the site will all be C2. All right. With that, Mr. Weiser, if I missed anything from their comments, if you have anything to add.
No, I appreciate you giving my response.
Oh, okay.
It's very kind of you. No, maybe just a couple quick things,
You should be
John.
afraid when I'm answering those kind of questions. You should be there.
Just a couple. I'm glad that's up there, folks. Mr. Kennedy's exactly right. Right there, that parcel right there is what I refer to as the approximately 12 acres. One gentleman asked back there, how big is the overall tract of land that we're looking at to develop? And if this rezoning was to be granted, added to the other parcel of property, it would be approximately 32 acres more or less. Not right on the button, but more or less 32 acres. So it includes all of that property. Mr. Kennedy did a great job of explaining it. I do want to let you all know that we are just talking about rezoning this parcel of property from open space to C2, which is consistent with the adjoining zoning classification. Your questions, all very legitimate, go to the issue of development. And this is just the beginning. If we were to get approval for this, there are other hearings that you're going to get legal malarkey on. I couldn't remember the word you used, but you'll get some legal notices that will tell you when we get into the development, and you could come back here, and that's when you'll learn about the development and the drainage and the sewers and everything. At that time, they have to have further hearings. So this isn't the end of the game here. This is just the beginning. But what I do want to say, because I think it's a very legitimate concern that you folks raise, there is intended to be no disturbance at all or development in the wetlands. We're north of the wetlands and maybe kind of more north, I guess, and maybe kind of a little west. But there will be no disturbing of the wetlands at all. And to the extent that the town requires to protect your subdivision, and it is, I've actually been back in your subdivision, and it is a beautiful little subdivision, and we'll do what we have to do and what the town requires us to do to protect that with whatever screening or whatever else may be required. So having just said that, John, to add on to what you said,
Okay.
That's pretty much our position right now.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions or comments from the board? Is there any, so again, this is a recommendation. There are 3 choices for us. We can make a favorable recommendation to the town council regarding the rezone. We can make a unfavorable recommendation to the town regarding the rezone, or we could make I guess we can defer until further information such as a financial assessment or impact study is provided so we can see the long-term impact this would have. So I bring it back to the board for discussion and consideration.
Mr. Kennedy, if you don't mind, I like the idea of deferring it to get information, more factual information, especially with tax increment financing and financing. So that would help us out tremendous
Okay.
in making our recommendation. I would feel that way.
Okay. Anybody else? If not, I will entertain a motion. And Mr. Weiser, just for
Yes.
your understanding and representatives, it's, if the Franciscan is moving forward with that financial impact study, I think it would be worth, if you're going through that effort, and I appreciate that, going through that effort, is for this board to defer until that information is received, digested, and so that we can make the town council, provide the town council a fully understandable understanding or a fully informed decision.
like to make a motion to defer Franciscan Alliance project from open space to C2 Highway Commercial District.
So at this time, I have a motion for deferral at this time for the recommendation. Is there a second?
I second it.
I got a second by Joe. Questions, comments? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain. Motion to defer at this time. Thank you, sir.
I'm not exactly sure how many members are here. I apologize. What was I know it was a
Oh, I'm
unanimous
sorry.
vote. How many is that?
5-0.
Thank you.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you. So for those that came out tonight, you're more than welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, but our feelings will not be hurt if you want to go home. But you guys can do what you want and see what we do. So, and again, thank you for coming out. We don't know what the concerns are. I don't live in your slice of paradise. I live on the other side of 41. I'm a West Sider. So I appreciate you coming out here and giving us your information. So thank you. Next on the agenda, we have another public hearing. This one is amendments to our subdivision control ordinance. We have nicely read 31 pages of updates to our subdivision control ordinance. So at this time, is there any comments from the petitioner? All right, from the town, hearing none. Any comments from the board until I open up the public hearing? All right, at this time, I'm going to open up the public hearing to amendments to subdivision control ordinance, item 2023-15. At this time, the public hearing is for the subdivision control ordinance is now open. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak? Sir, would you please come up? Again, I'm going to ask name and address for the record, please, sir.
Name is Doug Blocker. I live at 10591 Juniper Lane. That's in the Orchard Gate subdivision in St. John. I want to thank the board council members, or the commission members, and the staff for working on these amendments. I think they were a long time coming. I know that this past spring when we had the elections, I think all the proposed council members indicated that they were for quality development. I think this is a good step towards quality development. I do, however, have a few comments on it, though. On page 23 of 132, where it shows the itemized improvements, it
Sir, if you
shows,
can hold, I'm sorry, I know I read through this twice, but I don't know all of them, so if you can just get us to, so we can get to the page, so
Okay.
we could read with you.
page
give us one minute.
23 of 132.
Just give them one more minute. All right, sir, thank you.
It shows intermediate 2-inch asphalt. I believe further on, you guys are recommending 3.5 inches. So I would recommend you change that to match your proposal. And then also, I would
Where-
suggest,
Do you write down where it was 3-inch,
3.5.
or 3.5, I'm sorry?
that's further on in the
Further
ordinance.
down,
You're,
okay.
you're proposing to change that. I'm just going, this is under the list of other credits. So I actually couldn't tell you exactly the
Okay,
page.
no, we'll, I appreciate you bringing it to our attention.
And then I would also recommend you add lines for, one for erosion control, for sidewalks, and for landscaping. You're going to probably say it's all under other, but I'd recommend you specifically add those to it.
John, did you write those all down?
I did, yeah.
Thank you, sir.
In the ordinance, you also have, which I don't believe you changed, you're showing streetlights to be placed no further than 600 feet apart. I'd ask that you look at changing that to 300 feet. I mean, 600 feet is almost a block. And I think 300 feet is much more acceptable within a subdivision. I know that the committee has been looking at adding curbs, sidewalks on perimeter streets to a subdivision. In reading this code, I don't see it being really clear. It's clear that they must extend water and sewer across those roads, but I don't see where it's saying you also need to install whether it be curbs, sidewalks, streetlights, so forth. I may be reading it wrong, but, you know, if you guys say, hey, it's there, it's there. The rest of my comments basically maybe somewhere else, maybe not in this code, maybe somewhere else, but I'm not sure if you have specifications on bike paths regarding the widths, stone depth, asphalt depth. I'm sure if a developer had a choice of putting in an 8-foot wide concrete sidewalk with 4 inches of stone and 4 inches of asphalt, and 4 inches of concrete compared to an 8-foot wide asphalt path with 4 inches of stone, maybe 1.5 inches of asphalt, I think he's going to say, I'll do the asphalt. I think you want something that's going to last for quite a few years, not have the developer put it in and the town come back in 10 years and, oh, we have to resurface this already. I'd also ask that you maybe look at adding a landscape section to the ordinance, where it maybe would show specifications on planting of your retention banks so that you don't have all this erosion happening. Right now, I'm seeing a lot of developers, they'll put grass down right to the edge, which is nice and cheap for them. And then 5, 6 years later, they're coming back to the association and saying, oh, now you got to fix all this erosion that's happening. And by the way, homeowners, you're paying for this, not me. Where if you had some wetland plantings going down to stabilize those banks, I think would really be great. Require specific wetland, people that are developing wetland ponds to develop an actual wetland pond by a wetland specialist, have it monitored and maintained, not just have a developer go in, throw in cattails and say, that's it. Also maybe look at requiring the retention ponds and detention ponds to have trees planted around them. I'm not asking a lot, maybe every 100 foot have a tree planted around instead of nothing but usually ends up weeds. But I think the homeowners or even driving past it would really look nice. Then getting into parkway trees. I think the town should be looking at requiring for developers to install parkway trees, whether or not it be every 40 or 50 feet. Right now, I don't believe they do. You do. And then the ordinance should require or specify what is permitted, what type of parkway trees are permitted, and what ones are not permitted. Right now, you have a developer that installed apple trees in the parkway. When I contacted the town about it, I was told, well, our ordinance doesn't prohibit them. Doesn't say they're permitted, but it says it doesn't prohibit them. So now, when these trees grow up, it's going to be a mess all over the streets because they're in the parkway. The code, which is really great, I think requires an additional lot depth of 25 feet when it backs up to a railroad. I'd ask that you consider that you create also another buffer when a lot would back up to another street, such as a main street, or to commercial areas. And have a 25-foot outlot. This outlot would be owned and maintained by the homeowners association. And it would then recommend you have it landscaped with nice berm and heavy landscaping to provide a screening from the homeowners to the street or from the street to the homeowners. I mean, right now you go down Klein at the new subdivision that's being put on for the East Gates. You drive down and you look back, what do you see? All the backyards of these homes. It really would be nice to have a nice landscape buffer along there and looking at trees instead of somebody laying out in the patio or sitting in their patio and stuff. I'm sure someplace your code requires minimum and maximum slopes for your yard areas. When you have these 60-foot wide lots with 6-foot side yards, you would be surprised how many homeowners are having drainage problems with water sitting there. Even from when there's lawn sprinklers go on, come back and it's nothing but water problems. I think you need to have codes that saying, hey, you need a minimum slopes on these areas when it's designed. I think you should develop specifications for driveways, having a minimum slope for driveways of maybe 2% and a maximum slope of 8%. I feel that's important because right now you have no code. I was just happened to be, my house was built 1 foot 10 inches too high than the engineering plans, and I wound up with a 12% grade on my driveway, which is unacceptable. I mean, as you pulled your car in, you couldn't even see it. Contacted the town says, we don't even have a code that says what the slopes can be. So I think that's important. No matter how good this code is, okay, it's only as good as the enforcement of the code. Now, you're recommending that you extended the bond to 3 years, which I'm not sure why, because it was 2 years, and I don't believe anything was being enforced on the developers for these maintenance bonds. I ask you, in the past 5 years, when you released these maintenance bonds, how many subdivisions did the developer have to go in and make improvements to curbs were cracked, asphalt that's sunk or cracked, sidewalks that are cracked, manholes with their rings that are all cracked? My guess is 0. A couple years ago, I been complaining about this issue for the past 4.5 years. A couple of years ago, I went and I myself walked a subdivision, gave a list to the town of all the cracked curbs in the subdivision, curbs that were raised up at inlets, asphalt that was sunk. There was even a hole in the asphalt. I was later told that the town can't do anything about it. They'll have to come up there under a capital improvement project. That means you and me are paying for those repairs, not the developer. And I find that unacceptable. And I also ask, I guess, with BLB Incorporated, I have yet to see them replace or put up a maintenance guarantee or request a release of a maintenance guarantee. I guess, why? Does he have a special privilege? He doesn't have to do it? And is the town just letting him do what he wants? I'm here tonight to support you in achieving the goal of quality development, and I really hope that you approve what you've already done and continue to work on requiring stricter standards. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Additional comments for public hearing? Did we receive anything electronically?
Nothing.
All right, at this time, I'm going to close the public hearing, going once, twice. Last call for public hearing. The public hearing for the subdivision control ordinance is now closed. I don't know if John or Bob, I'm going to put you on the hot seat. If there's any comments or questions, at least you can answer to some of his. He went through. I'll bring up one. I know bypass have to be concrete now. That's in our subdivision control ordinance. I remember back in the day that was approved. I wasn't a fan of concrete because I tell you, I ride bikes and it's always hard to ride on a concrete because you got the click, 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 click of the thing. I was always a big fan of asphalt, but I know curbs and gutters and sidewalks. I'm just trying to think, a lot of that stuff is already included, but
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we already amended it before in 2020 to have the 8-foot sidewalks on the exterior and the curbing on
no,
the
I'm
exterior
just
subdivision.
trying to address some of this the gentleman's
Yeah, and the
comments
landscaping
questions.
issues, that's in our zoning ordinance, not the subdivision control. There's
Gotcha.
a landscape chapter in there.
Okay. Very, very good. All right. Comments, questions? Again, this is a recommendation to the town council. I would imagine one we would want to change is make sure our numbers are all accurate, so the two, if it's 3.5
Yeah.
somewhere, we want to make sure we
We'll
change
make sure that what's in this list on page 23 jives with
what's on the rest,
the
yes.
requirements in the design standards section.
So again, he's brought up many valid points. We could approve or make a recommendation to approve what's currently been amended. And then if additional items need to be added to the subdivision control ordinance, we can do that at a preceding meeting or a future meeting. But if there is a recommendation for a favorable recommendation, just let's make sure we address the asphalt of 2-inch intermediate versus 3.5.
Yeah, and I think it should be 3.5 intermediate, 2-inch surface, I believe.
Okay. Because we just want to make sure we're all on the same page, no pun intended. Or there's always a third option. We got favorable, unfavorable, or defer. So, but the gentleman was accurate in saying that we're trying to improve. There's always more room for improvement, so we could make a favorable recommendation for this. And then, I know my eyes are getting older. I like the idea of the 300-foot versus 600. That was always a good one. So, I will entertain a motion.
I would like to see if we could get some answers to his questions that he had up there. They're pretty good, legit, but I don't know what our time limit is on this planning.
It's a living document, I
Okay,
always
well,
say.
This is a
That's
work in
beautiful.
progress, yes.
Always a work in
So
process,
if
so.
it's work in progress, why, could we approve with intentions to look at all these other things and put them on the board? Because like, I do agree, Quezon, continuously improvement, and this is, start somewhere at least.
My approach to this is it's a work in process.
Right.
We're trying to always improve. There are always better, more improved ideas. So the staff at the town took time and effort to try to do the best job they could to make the adjustments that they felt was good for the town. I would consider them experts. They do it at a day-to-day basis. And so, we've looked at this. We've had many study sessions. We've had many opportunities for comments and discussions, and it would be we need to move forward. That's my opinion. We need to move forward, and then we have them on public record with these ideas to verify that these are addressed elsewhere, and if not, it's on the list to be put in,
Or at least to look at.
to at least to look at, to see if they're the right approach.
I think, Mr. Chair, I would suggest if the Plan Commission is inclined to vote making a certification on the proposal, that the proposal, which is in the format that's been presented, the draft with all of those amendments, if there's going to be any further changes to that, that needs to be very specifically identified as part of the proposal that's going to be the subject of the vote that's going to be taken. So if that's going to happen tonight, then there needs to be a very clear record of any additional changes that are being made, as was suggested earlier about making the
Asphalt match.
Yeah, it looks like the letter of credit.
Yeah, the letter of credit
With the
list.
itemization of specific items, right. So, and if that's not going to be done, if that's simply going to be something to consider at a future date, then the Plan Commission can defer to that future date and continue to consider it, or it can simply, take a vote on what the proposal is with any specific amendments that are made as far as that recommendation. So I think it needs to be very clear what changes are going to be made
I just
to the
don't-
proposal.
You brought up, and again, I just want to make sure our numbers are accurate on page 23, if it's somewhere else in the 130-some pages, that there's no confusion between a 2-inch intermediate versus where it said somewhere else in our subdivision control ordinance where it's 3.5. I just trying to avoid that confusion. So I don't know where that 3.5 was listed, so we could cross-reference.
So these two numbers, we would. because I think we went to a 2-inch surface.
And a 3.5.
Is it 3.5?
I don't
That's
know.
what we need, yeah, so that, I think that needs to be clarified. I agree that that may be a change that's referenced elsewhere in the proposal. I consider the proposal all of the proposed amendments to the subdivision control ordinance. So,
With this one, and again, I don't know the proper terminology to use to determine that, we just verify that that asphalt 2-inch intermediate is the accurate versus a 3.5 that is.
I think that
Well,
needs to
maybe
be
you
done
say-
now. If the plan commission is going to take a vote to make a recommendation certifying the proposal to the town council,
I
that
just-
needs to be,
I understand.
That needs to be
I
done
just
too.
want to, we would have to review the 131 pages to cross-check the comment to make sure it is 3.5 somewhere
Or
else.
maybe you make a statement that we refer to the thicker of the two than what it says on page 23.
well, I think it can be done pretty quickly. We
Yeah.
can find where that is in the proposal, whatever change was discussed.
Can you do Control F, intermediate?
Or you
See if you can find it.
find and intermediate, but the
That-
size.
Maybe start at the top and work your way down.
Curbs.
Start at page 1 and see if you,
It should-
Another highlight right there.
Is
It's fire hydrant.
this in Word or? Is this in
Here's
Word?
design standards. It should be in here.
You could punch in find Word.
Next intermediate, it should take you to the next
Oh, okay.
one highlighted.
There.
There we go.
Yep.
Think-
3.5.
Wait, but let's make sure that's in.
10-inch compaction.
And 1.5 inch paved 11B hot mix surface.
So Mr. Chair, the only change I understand is we're going from 2 inches to 3.5 inches for the intermediate
Yep.
coat. There's no change made to the
Surface.
surface coat.
I was thinking the surface was 2-inch.
That's what I thought.
I
too.
thought total 5.5.
So then page on 23, it lists 2 inches at intermediate needs to be 3.5.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm thinking this 1.5 inch of surface is 2. 5.5 inches total.
So if we make a motion to defer, do we have to have another public hearing?
No.
No, I don't believe another public hearing is required. The summary of the changes was presented as part of the advertisement.
Yeah.
Then I say, I'll make a motion to defer until we find out
I have a
all the
motion.
information.
I have a motion to defer the subdivision control ordinance. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Abstain? Motion carries 4-1. All right. Next on the agenda, we have Rose Garden, Phase 3, Block 2, proposed final plat of Rose Garden. This is a single-family residential lot at South End corner of Willow Lane and 91st Place. Mr. Reddick.
Good evening, Doug Reddick from DVG, representing Sublime Development. Mike Granissi, the owner, is here as well. This is a 3-lot phase of Rose Garden. We're calling it Rose Garden Phase 3, Block 2. 3 lots on the east side of Willow Lane we had primary plat approval back in 2018. We were here for the necessary extensions for that primary plat, and we're here tonight to plat these 3 lots. We submitted the plan for review 2 or 3 weeks ago. We received comments from your reviewing engineer Monday of this week. We addressed those comments and sent an email out with a slightly revised plat this afternoon for consideration by the town engineer. So we don't have an approval letter, as John likes to have, in hand, and I'm aware of that because it kind of came down to the wire here. So we still would like to get our approval for these 3 lots contingent upon Robinson's final review. The comments were pretty minor in nature. The plat changed very subtly since the previous one that was submitted. So that's what we're here for tonight. If there's any way we can consider a contingent approval based on the review letter, approval letter from Robinson. We haven't bring Mylars in yet. We want everybody to be on board with what we presented here. I just don't want to have to wait a month if we don't have to.
You don't know what you get unless you ask, right? That's what I always say.
Right.
All right, so on the, what Mr. Reddick has said, I am always hesitant to, my personal opinion, to make a recommendation if I don't have a satisfactory letter from our town engineer. So, but it's been asked and it's up for consideration if this board wants to consider a approval contingent on final review by Robinson. We've done that in the past when I've been on this board for 9 years, and it doesn't, I don't know. It's not a process we've been doing recently, so, but I will bring it to the board for their consideration. In my personal opinion, I think it's a slippery slope.
Yep.
So, but there's 5 of us. So I will, for consideration, entertain a motion. There is a motion for approval with contingent on approval from Robinson on the approval letter. There's a motion, you can defer until that letter is received and reviewed. And then, I guess those are really our 2 options.
Motion to defer Rose Garden Phase 3, Block 2.
Got a motion to defer. Is there a second?
Second.
I got a second by Bob Floyd. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain. Mr. Reddick, we'll see you in a month.
We understand. We'll be back. Thank you.
All right. Next on the agenda, we have Preserve West, request for 2 6-month extension. Mr. Slager, unless the board has any issues, I don't want to be disrespectful to you and your time, but I'll just bring it to the board if there's any consideration for a 2 6-month extension for the Preserve West. I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve 2 6-month extension of primary plat for Preserve West.
I have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. Didn't mean to.
No problem, thank you.
Didn't mean to take that from you. All right, next on the agenda, we have Preserve West Unit 1, recommendation to town council for release of, there's 2 items. There are 2 items on this, so I just want to make sure everyone's clear. Item E is first a recommendation to the town council for release of a performance letter of credit in the amount of $277,945.80. So that will be the first item under E. The second item will be acceptance of a 3-year maintenance letter of credit or surety bond, and that is for 48 single-family lots and 3 outlots at 10365 West 101st Avenue. Mr. Slager.
Yeah, so this is for Preserve West Unit 1. We've completed the punch list of items that the town presented that involved repairing cracked curbs, adjusting manholes, all the little
Erosion.
punch list items. And
Items, yeah.
so, yeah, we've completed that, and we're ready to move into the maintenance phase of this project. And we have provided that maintenance letter of credit from People's Bank to the town, and I believe it has been reviewed and approved by the town engineer.
All right. Any other questions or comments? All right, I am going to read, hearing none. All right. Dear Plan Commission, as requested, Robinson Engineering has evaluated the request to release the performance letter of credit for the subject development and provide the following. All work for the above referenced project has been complete in accordance with the final engineering plans for the project. All punch list items identified in the letter from Robinson dated 7/11/23 have been addressed. The developer, contractor, and consultant engineer have completed the requested work to release letter of credit. 2, town staff inspected the site and found the public improvements to be complete. 3, the staff and Robinson team find that, in our best judgment, The work is substantial conformance with approved plans, therefore we recommend acceptance of the construction improvements and release of the letter of credit amount per provided bank documentation is $277,945.80. In accordance with additional soil control is to be maintained by the subdivider of lot owner. Any other applicable requirements per town code shall be met, and I skipped a section, sorry. Item 4, in accordance with town code section 21A-98, a letter of credit, surety bond, or cash escrow agreement naming the town as beneficiary to ensure maintenance of the said improvement shall further be posted by the developer. The letter of credit, surety bond, or cash escrow agreement shall be in the amount equal to 15% of the construction cost and shall run for a minimum of 3 years from the date of acceptance. However, the letter of credit, surety bond, or cash escrow agreement shall continue in full force until a certificate of release shall be issued by the town council. Sincerely, Jonathan Dykstra. Hearing that, do I have a recommendation regarding release of, recommendation to the town council to release performance letter of credit?
Motion, favorable recommendation to release the performance letter of credit in the amount of $277,945.80 for the Preserve West Unit 1.
I have a motion by Bob. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Bob. All in, questions, comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, I have a letter from Robinson. This is for the acceptance of a 3-year maintenance letter of credit. This is per Plan Commission. As requested, Robinson Engineering has evaluated the minimum 3-year maintenance bond document provided by the developer for the subject property. We provide the following. 1, by letter dated 10/26/23 to the Plan Commission, we recommend acceptance of the construction improvements and release of the performance LOC. Our calculations show the provided maintenance bond meet the minimum amount required. Therefore, we recommend acceptance of the attached maintenance bond for $394,536.90 per town code. The bond shall continue in force until a certificate of release is issued by the town council. Excuse me. Section 21A-98 also states soil erosion control is to be maintained by the subdivider or lot owner. 4, per town code 3, section 21A-24D4, the subdivider shall provide warranty guaranteeing the improvements for a period of 3 years after acceptance by the town in a written form per the suggested verbiage provided in this section of code. Sincerely, John Dykstra. No other questions or comments? I will entertain a motion.
Motion for the acceptance of a 3-year maintenance letter of credit bond for amount of $394,536.90.
I have a motion to release, I'm sorry, a motion to accept, motion to accept. Is there a second?
Second.
I got a second by Joe. Questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. Next on the agenda, we have item F. This is just notification. We received written documentation that they have removed their waiver request to reduce their sidewalk from 8 feet to 6 feet. They will be putting in an 8-foot sidewalk. And so they have sent the town a request to remove their waiver request. Item F is taken care of. Item G. Item G, we have proposed final plat Greystone Unit 3. This is 31 single-family residential lots, part of Greystone Unit 3. That is the first item. And the second item is to recommend to town council for acceptance of a 2-year performance letter of credit or surety bond. Mr. Slager.
Good evening, Jack Slager with Schilling Development, representing CWS Holdings, the developers of Greystone. We are requesting final plat approval for the final phase of Greystone, Unit 3, Phase 3, and that is 31 single-family lots. We have made some corrections to the plat per the engineer's request, and I do have the Mylars here that I'll give to John tonight. We are requesting, and this goes into the second item, we have not established the letter of credit amount at this time with Robinson Engineering. We were hoping to have all of the improvements completed by now, but the weather has not been cooperating for the last few weeks. So we are hoping to finish the roads in the next week or two, and then we would come in, we would establish the letter of credit at the amount when all the infrastructure is complete. So we would request plat approval tonight, and that the town would hold the Mylars until we have the letter of credit established.
We've done that before, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have.
Concern, issue? No, okay. Concern, issue?
No.
Okay. Questions, comments? All right, I will read the letter. Dear Plan Commission, as requested, Robinson Engineering has reviewed the final plat for the above referenced project and have the following comments. Final plat for Greystone, St. John, Unit 3, project improvement costs for, they've received items of final plat for Greystone of St. John and project improvement costs for Greystone Unit 3, dated 6/23. Description, the project includes 31 residential lot, 1 outlot, and associated facilities on a total of 11.441 plus or minus acre zone PUD. We offer the following comments. We have reviewed the final secondary plat and find it to be satisfactory. The development fee is $16,249.08. This fee is 2% of the construction cost. The $1,500 primary plat application fee was accounted for with Block 1, so there is no subtracted amount. We are waiting for construction information from the developer and town verification. Therefore, the irrevocable letter of credit, cash escrow, or surety bond amounts cannot be finalized as of this date of letter. Should there be questions, please contact me at your convenience.
We did pay that development fee, by the way.
Gotcha. All right, I will entertain a motion for a secondary, okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve final plat of Greystone Unit 3, Phase 3.
Question, I'm sorry, should, since the letter of credit, should that be a contingency part of the motion?
Well, yes, I think it should, and I think you could, if you wanted to amend the motion to make it contingent upon a finalized letter of credit with the town engineer and, and to withhold the Mylars until that's completed. I think that's what was discussed, and I think that would be appropriate.
Okay.
Okay, a motion, or no, not a motion, motion to approve final plat of Greystone Unit 3 and contingent on the engineer developer for the letter of credit amount and holding of the Mylars by the town. So that's done.
Sorry, Bob.
No, you're good.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Oop. I got a second by Bob Valoy. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? I'm going to oppose. Motion carries 4-1.
Thank you.
Oh. Then we got to do a recommendation for the town council to accept 2-year performance letter of surety bond credit. Wait, we can't do that yet. We don't have the number. Jesus. Sorry. Next on the agenda, Mr. Herbers, I'm going to do the same. I don't mean any disrespect, gentlemen. This is a request for a 6 months extension for Astoria. Unless you want to make a comment, we're open to the public. I apologize. I should have gave it to Mr. Slager just in case if the general public wanted to know what was going on. But this is an extension for a plat, study session, so board doesn't have any questions or you don't want to add anything for public information. I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve 2 6-month extensions, primary plat.
I have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Bob Burleson. All questions, comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, very similar to the previous two, this is a request for extension, 2 6-month extension of primary plat for the remaining 68 single-family residential lots. Mr. Slager, if you have anything to say before the board takes action. For the board's consideration, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve 2 6-month extensions, primary plat of the preserve.
I have a motion to approve, request for 2 6-month extension. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Joe. Questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained, motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have recommendation to town council for, there's 2 items on this one. Hold on a second, my notes. 2 items. We have recommendation to town council for release of cash escrow in the amount of $5,500. That would be item number 1. Item 2 is accept a 3-year maintenance letter of credit or surety bond, part of the original 55 acres. Mr. Slager.
Good evening, Jake Slager with Schilling Development, representing the Continental. This is regarding Phase 3 or Unit 3, which was the latest street that we put in this year that included 5 1-acre lots. All of the infrastructure is complete, including the surface asphalt, the streetlights. The as-bills have been reviewed by the town engineer, and so we are ready to release the cash escrow and move into maintenance letter of credit, which I believe is also in the town's hands from People's Bank.
Awesome. All right. If there's any questions or comments from the board, I will read the first letter regarding the release of cash escrow. This is Dear Plan Commission, as requested, Robinson Engineering has evaluated the request to release the performance cash escrow for the subject development and provided the following. 1, all work at the above referenced project has been completed in accordance with the final engineering plans for the project. The developer, contractor, and consultant engineers have completed the request work to release cash escrow. Town staff inspected the site and find the public improvements to be complete. 3, town staff and Robinson team find that in our best judgment, the work is in substantial conformance with approved plans. Therefore, we recommend acceptance of the construction improvements and release of cash escrow amount per receipt. The original cash escrow is $5,500. 4, in accordance with the town section 21A-18, the letter of credit, surety bond, or cash escrow agreement naming the town as beneficiary to ensure maintenance of the said improvements shall further be posted by the developer. The letter of credit, surety bond, or cash escrow agreement shall be in the amount equal to 15% of the construction costs and shall run for a minimum of 3 years from the date of acceptance. However, the letter of credit, surety bond, or cash escrow agreement shall continue in full force until a certificate of release shall be issued by the town council. Additional soil erosion control is to be maintained by the subdivider or lot owner. Any other applicable agreements per town code should also be met. Yours truly, John Dykstra. So this is a recommendation to town council to release of cash escrow in the amount of $5,500.
Favorable recommendation to town council for release of cash escrow in the amount of $5,500 for the Continental Unit 3.
I have a favorable recommendation to town council to release of cash escrow. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Bob Valoy. Motion was carried by Bob Brilson. Questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. Next on the item is the acceptance of a 3-year maintenance letter of credit. I do have a letter here from Robinson. As requested, Robinson Engineering has evaluated the minimum 3-year maintenance bond. We provide the following. By letter dated 9/13/23 to the Plan Commission, we previously recommended acceptance of the construction improvements and release of the performance cash escrow. 2, our calculations show the provided maintenance bonds meet the minimum amount required. Therefore, we recommend acceptance of the attached maintenance bond for $29,080.50 $29,080.50 per Town Code Article 8, Section 21A 98. The maintenance bond shall continue in force until a certificate of release is issued by the Town Council. 3, Section 21A-98 also states that soil erosion control is to be maintained by the subdivider or lot owner. 4, per Town Code Article 3, Section 21A-24D4, the subdivider shall provide warranty guaranteeing the improvements for a period of 3 years after acceptance by the town in a written form per the suggested verbiage provided in this section of the code. Yours truly, Jonathan Dykstra. Not John. I've been saying John. It's Jonathan. Questions, comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion and acceptance of the 3-year maintenance letter of credit in the amount of, or the maintenance bond in the amount of $29,080.50.
I have a motion by Bob, favorable motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I got a second by Joe. Questions, comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have Streamside, proposed final plat of Streamside, 54 single-family residential lots, 37.5 acres, and Rec 1, final plat. And then 2, recommendation to town council for acceptance of performance letter of credit or surety bond. Mr. Yatsko, how are you, sir?
Good evening, Jeff Yatsko with Olthoff Homes. We're here seeking final plat for the 54 lots of Streamside. This is all being done as one phase. You have Mylars here tonight. We received the letter from Robinson. We've also, at this time, paid the development fee and provided the performance bond. So I believe everything should be in order.
All right. Questions, comments? All right, I have a letter here from Robinson Engineering. Dear Plan Commission, as requested, Robinson Engineering has reviewed the final plat for the above referenced project and have the following comments. We have reviewed the final secondary plat and find it to be satisfactory. The development fee is $38,568.06. This fee is 2% of the construction costs minus the $11,600 primary application fee that has been previously paid. 3, the public improvements are complete except for the completion of street lights, street signs, certified engineering, as-built drawings, and portion of roadwork, storm sewer, and water main. The following are the performance options per town code. Irrevocable letter of credit, $1,130,607.61. Mr. Yasko, which one? Did you do a bond, cash escrow, or letter of credit?
We provided the bond.
Bond, okay. Oh, here it is, sorry. So I'm just gonna, a surety bond in $1,336,172.63. Should you have any questions, please contact me, Jonathan Dykstra. So there it is. All right, so we have two motions. One, I have a motion, I entertain a motion for final plat.
Motion to approve final plat of Streamside.
I have a motion by Bob for final plat approval. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second by Bob Valoy. Questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Abstain? Next, recommendation to the town council, recommendation to accept a 2-year performance, or I'm sorry, surety bond in the amount of $1,336,172.63.
Make a favorable recommendation to town council for acceptance of a two-year surety bond of $1,336,172.63.
I have a favorable recommendation. Is there a second?
Second.
Got a second by Bob Valoy. Questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, we have public comment. Is there anyone from the public that would like to make comment? Seeing no one want to make public for the comment, make a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
So moved. Meeting is over.
Mike, so